And in 1957, they saw that dramatic shift in Adventist thinking and how thinking at the seminary really was changed. I can't spend more time on that, but I'll get into it a little bit. They saw the impasse, for example, when one is confused about the nature of sin. Just a simple subject. And how that created a real fork in the road at the seminary. They recognized Australian Bob Brinsmead's quandary, because Bob Brinsmead was one of the independent ministries. Very bright guy. He and I have had many wonderful talks. We still back and forth. He's an older man. Well, we're both old now. But we write back and forth on email. He believes he's way out there, and he admits it. But he had a sharp mind. And he knew that Ellen White was so clear that the last generation will be overcomers, like Revelation tells us we must be. And he said, how can we be overcomers when we have sin built into us when we were born? He didn't see the nature of sin. And he said, finally, he said, I got it. We have to go through Gethsemane, like Jesus went through, all of us. We call it the garden experience. And many of his followers in Brinsmead's group, and quite a group, fell for that. I'm sure it didn't last too long. But that's what happens when you get off on one of these, to get your finger on the right button, you can get to this button. There's so much I want to say on that. So here's Milton Andreasen again and Ted Heppenstall. Ted passed away now. But when we were going to conventions together with this city or that city, he would look me up in my motel room and sit down and get caught up and, sit on a bed, he on that bed, I in this bed. We would talk about this and talk about that. We were just pals. He knew where I was. I knew where he was. But we never let theology get between us. But he developed a theological structure at the seminary that trained a whole generation. Well, Bull and Lockhart saw that Heppenstall's new theology, I'm quoting, directly affected many other aspects of Adventist theology. Amazing change of emphasis on key Adventist words. Justification. Believers are now made right immediately rather than waiting for glorification. And he was part right, of course. Justification is the making right of a person. But that, to him and others, that is justification in Romans. And I'm looking at Romans 2, and I don't see it the way they see it, and other people don't see it either. But that made the day for, so much. You see, if you get justification now in such a way that you're made right now, you don't need to wait for glorification. You're already right, and you don't have to work on perfection or overcoming. That's all just plain legalism. Because you're okay right now. You're justified. From the early 60s, Heppenstall rarely mentioned the prospect of translation. You look for it in his books. And never discussed the character of the last generation, thus breaking the connection between Adventist theology of how we are saved in Adventist study of last day events. You just didn't have any more eschatology in that respect.